there's a lesson here for us immigrant women, which is when we come to a new country, especially, one North America, the established diaspora, we are told or we feel we need to assimilate. But I think it's very important to remain and stay true to who we are and the culture that we grew up with, and to not hide that light under a bushel, to be proud of being Jamaican, proud of being Nigerian, proud of being Grenadian, Trinidadian, whatever it is, Ghanaian, whatever it is, when we come over here, because there is a lot that we do have to be proud about.
Welcome to Chatting with the Experts, a podcast for immigrant women from Africa and the Caribbean who have relocated to the UK, the US, and Canada. In this podcast, we talk about the struggles while highlighting the triumphs experienced as we share resources and experiences that our fellow immigrant sisters can benefit from. My guest today is a Caribbean sister, Marguerite Orane, who lives and works in Canada. I'll tell you a bit about Marguerite. She is serious about joy at work, at play, at home, in fact, wherever you are. Marguerite believes that joy should be. In over 25 years of consultant experience and a lifetime of entrepreneurship, Marguerite has come to realize that it is the person who makes the difference. When people are authentically tuned into themselves, they are able to act from a place of presence, grace, joy, and authenticity, thus enriching the lives of others they encounter and also those who they may not encounter. But I'm going to stop here because Marguerite is such an interesting person. I'm going to let her continue so she can tell you more and more about herself, because I don't think even if I read her bio, I'll do justice. So, Marguerite, welcome to Chatting with the Experts. Tell my listeners all about you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Paula. Well, let me start with where I am currently. I am currently in Toronto, Canada. I migrated here in 2009, so that's, can't believe it, 12 years ago. And I am originally from, maybe your listeners can guess, but I'll save time. I'm originally from Jamaica. And I migrated or moved to Canada with my two teenage children and three dogs in 2009. So let me go back to the beginning, I guess. I actually grew up in a family business. My parents had a business, and so there are three children, and we all were very involved in the business. And I actually ran the business for a while when I was 23. Believe it or not, I was made managing director of the business when my brother decided to go to Harvard Business School and convinced me somehow that, yeah, I would be the first perfect person to manage the business. Well, he is 8 years older than me. So, when you have an older brother, you kind of listen to him, right? So I said, okay, sure. Well, I'm 5 feet tall. I was 5 feet tall then. I have a very round face. So when I was young, I didn't like the round face, but now I love it because I look younger than I am. Yay for fat cheeks.
That was my name too, Fat Cheeks.
There you go. And the business that my family had was in woodworking. So I was a boss of 70 men, hardened construction type workers. Anyway, all I can say is that it toughened me up fast. I ran it for about 3 years, and then two things happened. I decided to go to do my MBA at Harvard Business School, and also my parents had got to retirement age, and everything they had was tied up in the business. So we decided to sell the business so that they could have their pension and live out their retirement, which they did. It was lovely. I think a lot of people will ask, well, why did you sell the family business? But when I look at my parents, dad, he lived for another 14 years or so after retirement, and my mom lived for 30 years after retirement. and just how free and happy they were. And, they had the financial sustainability. It was an excellent decision. So I got my MBA at Harvard Business School. And I went back to Jamaica, which is very unusual. Most people in the Caribbean, Africa, and so on, you get your MBA at Harvard Business School, you stay in the US. I had no interest. I was totally committed to Jamaica. I thought I was going to die there. Just live to an old age and just die because I love the place. Life doesn't always turn out the way you plan. So had a wonderful time in Jamaica, ran my own business, many businesses in consulting and coaching and facilitation. My sister and I had a retail business and decided to move to Canada. And the reason for that is, I looked at the world, Paula, and I realized that for my children, the world is going to be a totally different place to the one we were in. People need to be mobile. People need to be able to go where the jobs are. And as a Jamaican at the time, and it still is, it's really hard to travel with a Jamaican passport. You just automatically assume to be a druggist. And I was tired of being, taken out of lines and sniffed by dogs and that kind of thing. So I said, I really just wanted to give my children and myself, because I love to travel, a second citizenship. So the US was out because, as you know, it's hard to migrate to the US, especially if you don't have any close relatives. So we chose Canada, and Canada says, yeah, come. So we came to Canada in 2009.
Wow, what a story. I mean, most people, as you rightfully said, get that Harvard MBA, they're staying put.
That's
Nothing will
right.
move them out. But you did something different. You decided to go back to Jamaica. You said you had many businesses there. You had a retail business with your sister, you did coaching, you did facilitation, you were busy.
Well, you grew up in a family business and you're always working. You just grow up, seeing your parents working really, really hard. We've never known 9 to 5. Like 9 to 5? What's that? Because I remember every morning, 6:30 in the morning, the phone would ring and it was some customer, and they would call and because daddy, because the project was behind, and deadline, and we were getting ready to go to school, and then mommy would pick us up after school and take us around to ballet and music, and then sit at the dining table and do homework while she was working on the book. She was the accountant, and we'd go to bed and she'd still be sitting down there at the table 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night working us with daddy. So, you grow up like that. You don't know anything else, right? That's it. That's normal.
I get you. And so, to small business owners all over the world listening, you see,
Oh,
nothing is new under the sun. So, this was going on a long time ago.
that's correct.
Okay. So, you decided to come to Canada to give your children a better opportunity, even though, as you said, life in Jamaica was so good. And primarily, also, I guess you were forward thinking, you're thinking ahead. The Jamaican passport, you said, was not respected. Maybe that's not the word, but you
Well,
said you,
let me
is that the word?
clarify here. Let me clarify about, because this thing about being Jamaican is very interesting. So the Jamaican passport is not so good to get you through the border. But once you get in the country, any country, being Jamaican, I tell you, Paula, is like the best thing in the world, because everybody know Bob Marley, everybody know Usain Bolt, everybody know Chris Gayle, everybody know Marcus Garvey, everybody know reggae music, and you just become like a little celebrity. I mean, I I've just had some experiences of being Jamaican and being a celebrity just because I'm a Jamaican that I love. So I feel very blessed that, once that the Canadian passport gets me past the border, they welcome me and then I can be Jamaican.
You're a wise woman.
Gotta be strategic in life, Paula.
Right, right. So, wow, I like that. Being in the borders of the countries you want to be, you're the celebrity.
Well,
All
I
right.
remember the little story. I went to my brother and myself and his family. We went to the Rio Olympics in 2016, and that was when Usain Bolt was at his, height.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, people were stopping us. Of course, we're all decked out in our Jamaican colors. People were stopping us, wanting to take pictures with us, just because we're Jamaican, right?
I like that. To some people, they may even try and find some distant relationship. So, he's my uncle, first cousins.
So, but as I just related that little story and we're laughing, but there's a lesson here for us immigrant women, which is when we come to a new country, especially, one North America, the established diaspora, we are told or we feel we need to assimilate. But I think it's very important to remain and stay true to who we are and the culture that we grew up with, and to not hide that light under a bushel, to be proud of being Jamaican, proud of being Nigerian, proud of being Grenadian, Trinidadian, whatever it is, Ghanaian, whatever it is, when we come over here, because there is a lot that we do have to be proud about. And so, yes, we do have to walk a fine line of, kind of playing by their rules. But at times we need to remember who we are, and because that's grounding. And we know that we have tough moments. I mean, I laugh, but I had some tough moments when I moved here to Canada. So, and what kept me going? My three dogs and Bob Marley.
I like that perspective. Three dogs and Bob Marley. That could be a song.
You have a good point there. Because what would happen, I would be going out, I would be job hunting, get no, because I have no Canadian experience. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I have a Harvard MBA. Really? That's nice. And there's always this thing in the back of your head, oh my gosh, is it because I'm black? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm over 50? Probably is all three of those, right? But you can't make those beat you down, And so I would come in at the end of the day just feeling so dejected. And my three little dogs would greet me at the door and they're like so happy to see me. And no matter what happened, they love me. And then I go for a walk and we'd sing Bob Marley, Don't Worry About a Thing. And I was fine.
All right. So, yeah. So that's something I wanted to ask you about your transition to Canada because you went there with your three dogs, your two children,
Two, yeah.
two
Uh,
children.
two of three. My eldest lives in Trinidad.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
yeah.
two of your three children armed with your Harvard MBA. Man,
Mhm.
you were prepared for the world. And yet they were like, all right, tell me about that.
Well, I was fortunate when I got here that I did get start teaching at Ryerson University in the global management program, and that was great. But that was not full time; that was sessional. So I was an adult lecturer, so that was in no way enough to keep me going. So I started to job hunt and sending out resumes and so on. And Paula, it was as if that Harvard MBA meant nothing, honestly. It was as if it meant nothing. And I got all the excuses. And, well, let me not say I got all the excuses. I got silence, which I think is probably worse than excuses. You apply and your application is not acknowledged, or you just get it goes to file 13. And I'm not overhyping the Harvard MBA, but I had also in my career worked for projects for the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the Canadian Institute for Development, CEDA. I had done work on a project contracted by one of the big consulting firms here in Canada. So, it wasn't as if I was in Jamaica, like doing only work for Jamaica, and yet nothing, nothing stopped, nothing was coming. So you can imagine how I was feeling. And, you're kind of getting the advice, well, maybe you should take Harvard Business School off of your resume. And I'm like, what? I worked hard for that.
Absolutely.
And why should I take it off of my resume? But, you need to live, right? Anyway,
Yes.
so it was really getting to me, and everyone will who's ever migrated will understand this, because I think it's just the universal immigrant story. You are
Hmm.
accepted into this country, especially if you come under, in Canada, what's called the federal skilled worker program. You are actually accepted because of your qualifications, and you come here. And you know I have met so many PhDs and doctors and so on driving Uber, waiting tables. It's sad because it's such a waste of brain power, mind power,
Yes.
resources. So these countries that accept us, thank you, we're very grateful, but they waste a lot of what we bring by not
Yeah.
recognizing it. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
So the turning point for me was, I'd gone to this interview. This was my third interview with one of the big banks here. And I was not really interested in that job. I did not think it was a good fit for me. I didn't think I was qualified for it. But one thing HBS teaches you is how to BS. So I could, you know, convince them. And I was meeting with this woman, and she was asking me the most, the stupid interviewing questions, like, tell me about yourself and that kind of nonsense. Honestly, Paula, I get people laugh when I say this, but honestly, I had an out of body experience. Honestly, I swear, because I was sitting there in this interview with this woman, and I was answering her questions, and I saw myself from a distance. I looked down, and I am I am there talking and being interviewed, but there's another me that's out there saying, Marguerite, you don't want this job. You don't want to work for this woman. What are you doing here? And I finished the interview, but in that moment, something shifted massively for me.
Hmm.
Thanked her, walked out of the office. I said, this is it, no more interviewing. Going back to what I've always done, going back to consulting, facilitation, coaching, whatever, my own business. So that was a Wednesday in November. So I walked out of the office, jumped on the subway. I was like, whoa, happy like anything. By the time I got home, subway ride was about 45 minutes. I knew what the plan was, start the business, so on. Anyway, the next day, my son, who was visiting, my eldest son, visiting from Trinidad. So we went out that day and spent the whole day out with friends. I checked my email. Why, why should I check my email, right? I'm not looking for
After
any
all,
job again, right?
right? You're done.
Paul, I come back home and I check my emails. And would you believe that there is an email from a client of mine in Jamaica who I'd worked with before I migrated? And he says, hi, Marguerite, would you be available to come to Jamaica in January to facilitate our strategy retreat?
Wow.
Wow.
Talk about perfect timing.
It talks about when you get clear on what you
Hmm.
want, like the whole universe just conspires to give it to you, like within 24 hours. And so
Wow.
since then, I've had my own business, and I coach. I'm what I call a joy coach. So I coach senior executives about leading, working, living with joy. I facilitate their strategy with their leadership teams and help them to execute their strategy by supporting them in developing a culture that's conducive and supportive of their strategy. And it's wonderful. I'm doing what I want to do.
You're doing
Yes,
what you want to do, when you want to do it, with who you want to do it, and
that's right.
in other words, you are internationally employed. Your clientele, from what I'm gathering, are not necessarily in Canada. They're in different parts of the world.
That's correct. So most are in the Caribbean, all over the Caribbean, some in a few in Canada, some in the US, and one or two in the UK. So I like to focus on what I call Caribbean people in the diaspora and Caribbean hearted people. What do I mean by Caribbean hearted people? These are people who may not have been born in the Caribbean, but just feel an affinity to our Caribbeanness.
I like that phrase. Caribbean hearted? Is that what you said?
Hearted, yes.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Wow. That is so inspiring, though. Hearing from you, the day you got clarity was the day things changed for you. So I always ask my client, oh, not my client, you're not a client of mine, but I always ask my guests if they consider themselves successes. And just hearing that yours, I mean, I'm answering the question for you. Yes, you
Well,
are a success.
that's a funny
Uh-huh.
question, though. There are a lot of people who are successful who do not consider themselves successes. In fact,
True.
I coach a lot of them. I will like, look at your resume, look at it, look at all these things you've done. Oh, yeah, but I don't consider myself a success, and there's always more. Well, so yeah, they're my clients. But I do consider myself a success. Why? Because I'm living life on my terms. And that's a lesson there that you live life on your terms. No, let me bring it back to the ladies listening on this podcast, the immigrant women. You know, this took time, right? And,
Right.
as we say in Jamaica, I had to suck salt before I
Hmm.
before, to get to this point. But because I was clear on certain things, my values and who I was and what I was willing to negotiate or not negotiate on, even when I was going through the hard times, I knew that those hard times would not last forever. And I think that's so important because it is a tough, tough road settling into a new country, especially if you have children. It's tough. But you have to keep know that this will not last forever. This too shall pass. Very important.
This too shall pass. Yes. And these are the things that make you resilient. These are the things that toughen you
Yes,
up. These are the things that sometimes you have to go through things so that you get the clarity. Because when you have nothing to compare, like if everything has been easy, then you won't even know when an opportunity comes because
that's
there's
right.
nothing to compare it with,
Hmm.
But
Yep,
when things have been easy and been tough, you remember those tough times and it's easy to see, okay, this is what I want.
yep.
I love that. I love that. And that's a thread I'm hearing from a lot of immigrant women that, you got to know what you want. You may not always know what you want, but when you start seeing what you want, go for it. Knowing
Go
that it's
for
not
it.
going to be easy, but go for it.
Yeah, and it'll take time.
It will
It'll
take
take time.
time. Yep, yep, yep. So true. All right. So I've loved everything I've heard from you, but maybe there's something more you want to tell my audience that you're like, Paula, please ask me this.
Like, where do I see myself in 5 years' time?
On the beach, I'm sure you're going to say.
Well,
or
I absolutely. Well, that it's something I've been thinking about a lot. I think the pandemic has caused people to really step back and re-examine their lives and come to terms with what's really important to them. So I absolutely intend to continue on this path of joy and helping people to feel joyful in life. I was just writing something for someone today and I stopped to reflect because I wrote something. What I wrote is that I love to travel. I'm an adventure traveler. So, I climb Mount Kilimanjaro and I go trekking in the Himalayas and that kind of thing, right? Well, I haven't even seen an airplane since March 2020. But what I have been doing over the past 18 months is the inner journey. So I have been traveling within. I became a mindfulness meditation teacher. I coach people around meditation, and I really am interested and fascinated by how we can bring more mindfulness into the way we work. We spend a lot of time on work, and a lot of it is toxic and painful and so on. Well, so what I'm doing now is incorporating some of the precepts of mindfulness, being present, being kind in the work that I do, in coaching my clients, in helping them to chart strategy and with their culture. And so this is where I'm moving, and I'm loving to see how it is working out. But 5 years time, that's where I think I will be on a beach. I'm doing retreats, meditation retreats,
Ah.
or something, whatever. Who knows? You know,
Something that gives you
keep
joy and something that
well,
gives you
yeah, and you
revenue
also,
at the same time. How about that?
yeah, that would be nice too. And I think that is what is so fun about being an immigrant is that you're not tied down by the fact that you grew up here and everybody knows you. There's a certain freedom of starting your life over, unencumbered by the having grown up in a certain society with those societal norms. So yes, I'm Canadian citizen, but I'm not Canadian in terms of all the strictures that being a born and grown Canadian would have. So there's a certain sense of freedom, and I think that as immigrants, no matter how long we're here for, we should embrace that and just say, "Whoa, there's something new and exciting." In fact, I will tell you something, Paula. I know more about Canada. I've visited more places in Canada than most Canadians.
I'm sure you have because
Oh,
the fact that you immigrated there looking for something new, I mean, that means you came to see something new and it's imperative that you find it
oh
in terms
yes,
of not just work, but enjoy whatever else is there.
that's right. Yep.
I love it. I love it. And so, believe it or not, we've come to the end of this
Oh
awesome interview. I can't believe this.
no, Paula, don't go. So I don't
You
end.
do
I'm
have
like,
something else you.
so I'd love for your listeners to accept my gift of joy. It is a guide to creating a compelling vision for your life. And it really was born out of how I live my life, which is to be visioning. I am always, I have a vision for my life, a vision for my relationships, whatever. It's something I do with my coaching clients. They all have to do a vision for their life. And so I created this guide. It's a gift. And I would absolutely love if your listeners tap into it, download it, and actually do it. In the Jamaican national anthem, there's a line that says, "Give us vision lest we perish." It's so important that we have a vision for our lives. And especially, let me come back to people who are immigrants, no matter how new or old. We come here, we must always have that clear vision for our lives.
Well said. I think you've summarized it pretty good. Have that clear vision for your life. The fact that you left your country and came to another country, if you don't have vision, you will perish. That's the truth.
Yep.
Wow, Marguerite, I've really enjoyed having you as a guest on Chatting with the Experts. Something that a lot of our listeners don't know is that this is the second time around doing this. The first time was good, the second time is even better.
Well, that's the other thing, Paula. The second time around, I think it's a lesson for both of us, which is that stuff is going to happen, but so what? We just move
Absolutely.
along and do it over.
Mm-hmm,
And it
mm-hmm.
has been twice the joy doing it this second time.
It certainly has. It certainly has. So, for my listeners, if you just heard what Marguerite Orane said, and you have enjoyed it, which I know you will, please head over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to podcasts and click subscribe. If you're an immigrant woman from Africa or the Caribbean and have found her story and all the other stories interesting, please let us know in your reviews. And if you'd like to be a guest on my show, Chatting with the Expert, and you are an immigrant woman from Africa or the Caribbean, please reach out to me on my website, chattingwiththeexperts.com/contact us to apply. As usual, this has been incredibly, excitingly, if there's a word like that, and
Make it up.
just yeah, I'm making it up. I enjoy all my guests, and I enjoyed you, Marguerite. Thank you again for
Thank you,
being a
Paula,
guest.
and thank you, listeners. This has been a joy.